And we are back, everybody. Welcome back to Awakening Aphrodite with Amy Fournier. And I have Mitch, the Orgone Donor, with us today. Welcome, Mitch.
Hey, Amy. Thanks for having me on. And I know you're excited. I'm excited. And yeah, let's get weird.
Let's get weird. I love that. What a great way to start the show. Let's get super weird. I am going out of my seat about this show. I've been waiting for weeks because the more I've researched your work and your products and then the deeper we're getting into this amazing life we're living at the moment, okay, let me just say the first thing that I absolutely love about you, and there's many things, is that you are taking action. You are providing solutions, okay? There's nothing that drives me more crazy than the people who complain. And then, of course, the spiritual bypassers, which we can talk about, right? So, I mean, like my whole show has taken this tangent since the pandemic hit. And just, when we had Matt Landman on with the Geoengineering and, what's really going on, like it's very dark. It's very sinister. It's completely unethical. It's unbelievable to people. It's just downright evil, a lot of things that are happening in the world. So much so that most people, not only can they not believe it's actually happening because it's inconceptual, but it's so uncomfortable they don't want to really dive into it, so they just ignore it. So my point is, I was just so thrilled to have found you because I think you're just incredible. You are an amazing example of someone who's making a difference and is taking action with stuff that's helping. It's actually helping. It's not hopeless, everybody. There's a lot we can do. We don't need to roll over and die, and we don't need to be afraid of how uncomfortable it is. We can fight, and we can fight the good fight. So you're one of them. And the warrior in me is just like high-fiving you across, because I know you're in Sedona. I'm over in Massachusetts. So I just wanted to welcome you and open with thank you for being a true warrior.
Well, I appreciate that. I will try not to let it go to my head.
It should. Let it go to your head.
It essentially, I get into certain types of astrology, but being a Leo, I've kind of come to this. Astrology is no excuse for anyone to be a jerk, but the directedness and why I got into this, what we'll talk about today, the orgone, the tower busting, the frequency fence, and all the cleaning up of our environment. I am just someone that I don't really want to be here if things are going to be controlled in a way that I don't have that control. And it's, I know this, I'm kind of jumping into something I probably wouldn't say until 30 minutes in, but it's like, I live somewhere, I don't want to watch the world burn. I watch my world burn, and I don't want that. And so that kind of helps motivate me to do what I do. And also just everything for me is sort of my own little pissing contest where I just have to want to prove myself right or prove something wrong or prove something. I'm just like, I've got like this, we vilify ego a lot, and I get why. But at the same time, I use mine as a tool as well.
Right on. That's what you should do, right? That's the point, right? Use it to your advantage. So way to go.
Exactly. So that's how I'm trying to, like I said, just trying to be modest and not let it go to my head, the nice things you say. But it's just about choosing, what does that be, the change you wish to see? Mm-hmm. It really is that. And I am of the mindset, F around and find out, go big or go home. Do whatever or get off the pot. I'm trying not to swear because people who are familiar with my work, they know I might have some colorful language from time to time. So we'll keep it.
That's all right. You can express yourself. Feel free to express yourself.
But it's a very definitive way that I look at this place, and that I'm not going to roll over and,
Same.
Take it. So that's how I feel.
I agree. It's so uncomfortable and so dark. And I've come to the point now that, 5 years into the situation? And, we're just unearthing more and more layers of like, wow, it's worse than we even thought. And I've come to the point, Matt, where I've actually had to take breaks from it because I've always been an avid like info junkie and, podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube, how-to videos, webinar courses, learn. I was like always interested in so many things. And I've had to just have breaks where I'm like, I know this is happening, but for the next 2 hours, I'm going to not listen to anything. And just listen to the trees and listen. And it's helped me so much because you've got to turn it off too. Like there's a time to face it and like, okay, but it was like 24/7 and it was consuming and I was getting anxious. It was changing me. So we have to learn like boundaries, right? Self-protection, balance, discretion, all that stuff. And just I've become, as I've awakened Aphrodite, I've become more aware of my energy. And I know, when I'm vibrating literally, because it's just like, oh my God, like this is happening. We got to do something. We got to tell people this is crazy. They're spraying aluminum on us at night. It's nuts. People need to know this. This is not informed consent. Like, I go, that again, the warrior in me is like, this is not right, so I've had to learn to pull it back a little bit out of self-preservation because, the saying that a tired fighter is a fighter that will lose, right? Like you have to pull back and restore and rest to come back to be strong. So I get it. And one of the questions I was going to have for you is, how you maintain your own energy to do this. But before, if you want to say that, great, but you do have to tell people your origin story too, like who you are and all that stuff too.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of weave them both together because it's definitely mutated or been modified over the last, 9 years. I get almost there where I can say a decade, almost.
Wow. Okay.
So it was, about 10 years ago, I, started paying more attention like a lot of people. I probably had that weird glitch happen in my brain with a lot of folks in 2012. You just start realizing things are wrong. And as time goes on, you're like, you just know something's just terribly wrong. It's what we call the elephant in the room or the writing on the wall. And by around 2015, I had started diving really deep into all these different conspiracies. And I was paying really close attention to the sky. There was a lot of hearsay about what things were or weren't, what was going on with the climate. I always felt like the climate, what I call the climate agenda, really. But I feel like the climate agenda has always been one of the issues. Like it's one of the things they'd have to write on his tombstone. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, I'm speaking in the third person, of course, but like to me, it's one of those things that became really important. And when I started learning about energy and I had stumbled on this idea of Orgone and Wilhelm Reich and the hockey puck, that people were putting around cell towers. And I'm like, this has to be the dumbest thing in the world. And I've said this on other shows as well. So I'll try to keep it more simplified. But I thought, as I knew something was wrong in the sky and something wrong with energy and you're hearing about shifting realities, conspiracies, this CERN and HARP and all these different things. I thought this has to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I talked about this with you off camera, just being one of these, having this mindset that I have to prove something right. Or I set out originally to prove my entire existence of my persona, what I am now. I set out to prove it wrong. I thought there's
that.
Yeah. And so, cause
so compelling.
And to this day, people will ask, about things like confirmation bias and whatever. And I'm like, well, here's a really interesting approach to it. It's sort of reversed to where it's like, I'm not noticing something that I was trying to get. Yeah. It's like, I just say I set out to prove something wrong and I have been nothing but pleasantly surprised for the last 10 years.
See, that's fantastic.
It started, the origin as far as that, it started in Chicago, very high EMF area. So of course you're surrounded by, and of course the city in itself, and I learning about water and the structure of water and architecture and the old world and the World's Fair. And we've all heard endless, stuff about energy and our place in the universe and all of this stuff. So trying to put together these puzzle pieces while at the same time learning about these modalities, these objects that you could create that would broadcast or emit or transmute energy, and then really starting to decode that there's this, I call it a frequency war.
Yes.
That's trying to navigate the frequency war and realizing like, okay, I have a better understanding now of why the city where I lived in Chicago for about 12 years, where I fit, why the city ran the way that it did, why the world runs the way that it does, why even the tiniest of little political situations or political decisions are made in the way that they are. I started seeing how the universe moved, and it all kind of went back to that quote we've all heard by the Nikola Tesla quote about, in order to understand the universe, one must understand energy, frequency, and vibration. So taking in all this information, I'm having this like educational overload in my situation where I'm like, I'm going to go really try to prove this point. I'm like, again, it's like the F around and find out. So I'm going around Chicago and trying to, we call it gifting, Organite gifting. So if you ever hear that term, that just means it's coming out of someone's pocket. So
like donating, you're donating, you're buying the product to gift it to do the job. Yep.
So it's like,
and you're not getting compensated for it. Yep.
You're the one who made the sacrifice for it. And so you go out and you may do this grid work and you're planting. I like to say planting over burying, but like you're planting things.
I like that.
Sharing it with the right people, places, and, creating this grid. And then watching what happens within that grid. And in a place like Chicago, it was much easier to notice those observations because it is so strong in the EMF department that we're talking about transmuting frequencies. And it's like, you can do that. I mean, I won't go into that because we'd be here forever to talk about all those individual stories, but like people can go on my website later and look at some of that stuff. But essentially it was this mindset to, F around and find out. And so learning about Wilhelm Reich, I eventually made my way here to Arizona. I like to think it's because he came here down to Tucson to do a lot of his orgone experiments. Also, I just really liked Arizona. And this was in 2018. So I kind of knew, both my partner and I, we knew something was coming that was going to change things, where we were like, I don't think I want to live in this city. I don't want to live in this congested neighborhood or be commuting to this congested job. It was like a lot of people, I think, just kind of knew, everything was shifting, everything's changing. The old way of doing things were no longer going to be like, you really have to look the other way a lot. And that's how I kind of felt. So, in order to get by, and I didn't want to look the other way. So I got into all the weird stuff, and I came to Arizona because, like I said, I wanted to think it had to do with Wilhelm Reich, and kind of in a way it did, just in learning about how deserts are not natural. And that was kind of his whole shtick, was regreening the desert and showing how, there's essentially frequencies that make everything flow. And that same energy that makes, everything flow is like controlling the weather and vegetation and aquatic life and just every little component. And so when you throw that stuff out of whack, it starts to essentially kill itself. It starts to die off. And so he talked about how deserts are not natural. So the idea of coming to Arizona, I thought like, I'm going to do this whole grandiose project with these hockey pucks and these different, the tower busting. And I'm going to try to continue proving this point that all of this web is an artificially induced thing. And then it's like, well, where's it coming from? And then I would slowly migrate over the last several years into this. My personal view is I believe in the frequency fence. And that frequency fence is, basically composed of or comprised of every EMF device on Earth. And
was the average person wise like 5, right? Isn't that like five per person now? It's insane.
I mean, the home is essentially becoming a cell tower in itself. And one of the things that Orgone taught me, or Organite specifically taught me, was you can actually you can see the intentional effort that they've gone to. And we know who we're saying. When I say they, I'm really trying to now say it more. But you can see what it has been trying to accomplish. And when you look at like advancements in technology, it's like there hasn't been an advancement in technology in I don't know how long, with exception to more EMF, more signals, more antenna, more artificial,
AI.
Converting AI, essentially. Yeah. I mean, that's what I call.
You mean it's all EMF related? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Exactly. Frequency fence.
Good.
So, yeah, it's really just sort of with Arizona, it's molded into this project that like, I just want to continue demonstrating that, not only the deserts aren't natural, but that the earth would not kill itself. Things don't kill themselves. So you have to have something inverted that's doing it. And that's where all this technology comes in.
That's good. That's bingo. Life always tries to find a way. I'm always even just telling people that, just to bring it back to everyday life. It's like, your body just wants to be healthy, where we've been taught to fight symptoms and diseases, and you cut it out, and you got a cold, you got to take NyQuil, and because you got to get rid of your symptoms so you can go to work. It's like, no, that's the body detoxing. This is a natural thing, or it makes a pus and a scar. Life is always trying to survive. I mean, if you live on a farm or you have animals, life is always trying to live. It's not the other way around. So that makes a lot of sense, and that there's a lot of theory now that the earth is purging itself, but we shifted that a little bit, Mitch, a few years back when the Great Awakening happened with the pandemic in 2020, and the world started learning of the nefarious forces that we referred to at the beginning of the show, and that, well, wait a minute, all these catastrophic or unusual, climactic events that are very unusual wasn't necessarily Mother Earth having a cold or whatever. A lot of it is man-made. Like, we didn't know that. So again, the veil's been lifted. So now people are trying to it's like we have the bounce back effect, and now we're like, okay, wait a minute. How much stuff is man-made? How much of it is natural, cyclical? If you look at the earth over thousands, if not millions of years, like the climate change bullshit, right? We could go on a lot of tangents here, but you see my point. It's like, we're just trying to figure out, it's like all the cards got thrown up in the air and people are trying to figure out, okay, what is this nefarious it, as you're referring, directing it, and what is the earth what is maybe the earth reacting to that and trying to self-correct? Like what's natural, what's not natural? Because it's still, my last point, and I'll throw it to you, is I still can't believe all the people in my immediate circle that still aren't connecting dots of this crazy weather, the hurricane and what happened in North Carolina, and then of course the terrible fires in Hawaii. And I mean, hello? I mean, steering hurricanes into population centers of red states that, whatever. Like, come on, guys. It couldn't be more obvious. It's almost like they're enjoying throwing it in our face, and because it's fun. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to throw it to you. I just said a lot there, but see, you get me going. This is why I couldn't wait to have you on the show, because I'm very passionate about this stuff. Very important.
Yeah. Part of learning about the Orgone, and I'm just for visual, I say, because I know we're here, the shiny stuff. But like part of the process of this, putting something around an energy field to change that energy field, the idea is transmuting things back to where they flow together. And when you start, like, we've all heard the phrase, like, I learned this as a little boy, never tell a lie, because then you have to constantly keep remembering what you said.
True.
And of course, we've all seen every after school special where that's usually like a theme or whatever, Full House or whatever. It's the idea that when you lie, you have to keep plugging in the holes in the sinking ship, because it's like now you need something to cover up what you said there and there and there.
It's a lot of
We're seeing that in this reality with energy. And so like when you look at something like, if you start terraforming the planet off of energy and messing up the weather, well, now you're going to need crops that can actually sustain that same frequency of death. And that's where enter your GMOs. When you don't have that, now you're going to have to start like, oh, we need animals. Well, there's no shortage of the little pokey pokes that go into those and breeding animals certain ways and changing the agriculture and changing livestock and mutating, cloning, chemicals, all this stuff. And now with people, how do we get them all to fit? Because, you know, they would ideally love for everyone to be a robotic NPC that just fits into the Borg. Well, that's not going to work.
That's what the shots were. The shots of nanotech. I mean, you're cyborgs. Yep.
And we are essentially antenna that, you know, part of this Orgone thing that I do, and this goes to your question also about like, how do I get through this? I'll go out into my garage when I'm frustrated, when I'm done with the news. I'm like, let's just relax. Or I just don't even know what to do. My ass is in the garage and I'm like, I'm just going to do what I do best. I'm going to make this stuff. I'm just going to, I'm going to like take, cause I can just clear. And that's my intention behind it. It's like, I know what it's doing. And sometimes I criticize woo-woo stuff all the time. People have heard me come down on certain, the bypassing, but I can appreciate some of what we would call woo-woo, or just energetic. We'll just say energetic. And, you know, programming my own stuff and being like, you know, you have a purpose. Not that I'm giving it sentience, but it's like, I'm not, you know, some God bestowing, but I am saying like, I know what these tools are intended for. I know where these are going. Which I'll ask you to bring me back to that, where they're going and the tools, because I have certain things for certain people who I'm sure are watching this. Things will come back around too. But it's the intention behind it. The intention behind it is to create this energy that is in flow with everything. And that seems to be the thing they want. Like bulldozing a forest isn't about timber and money. It's not about switching people from not being able to have a wood burning stove and keeping them on an electric thing that they can turn off at any time. I know that's part of the puzzle. But cutting down the forest and the lungs of the planet, people sometimes forget they don't just make oxygen. Trees are antenna. They are scalar antenna that, in my experience, I think they actually they're highly responsible for a lot of the weather patterns, basically telling the energy where it needs to go to relocate water around this entire realm. And that water has been taken and put places it doesn't need to go by creating an artificial etheric overlay. And trees are just a tool, or a significant tool that would help regulate. That's why they bulldoze it. It's like knowing about the energy, you can see the deeper meaning behind every decision that's ever made, because it's never about money. It's, you know, Pfizer didn't do what they did 5 years ago because of stockholders. That's what they want you to think.
Right.
It's what's happening to the codes that are weaved throughout the human antenna.
Totally. Because they don't need money. They print money, for God's sake.
They own the machine that makes. Yeah, they own the machine that makes the money.
It's not about money and power because they have it all already.
Yeah, and they own the witchcraft that they've used already.
Well, they commandeer it.
See, yeah, exactly. So they know they don't need that. That's the point. Agreed. Now they want yours. They want yours for sure, but they don't need more of their own. That's
right. Well, they want yours because, you know, that's basically power, because it's agency, right? Like if you don't need them, you can go over here and do your own thing because you can support yourself. So God forbid you support
exactly.
Yourself.
It's a tool. It's a tool that helps you maintain as much of this natural antenna as possible.
I'd love for you to share with us, to the regular person, what is Orgone, Mitch? What is it? Why does it work? And why is it not woo-woo?
Yeah. So a lot of cultures have different terms that in my case, I'm using Orgone. But that term, I go from sort of the church of Wilhelm Reich. But Wilhelm Reich had created or coined the term Orgone Energy. The idea of Orgone is that it is an energy of it's a life energy. It's sometimes called prana or chi, life force, tachyon, 0 point, but that there is this energy that essentially flows through everything. And, even as I'm saying this, in the past 10 years ago, when we talked about this, I would say, oh, it's the life energy. It's a sexual energy. It was called orgone because he coined the term after the term orgasm, because it's sexual energy. And I would now today say that the sexual energy component is more of a frequency that travels on the pathway of orgone. Like orgone is life energy that carries all these different things with it. So like I try not to, because the thing is, Wilhelm Reich was a student of Sigmund Freud.
Right.
I don't like I don't like a lot of the history I found with that. And it makes me question everything, including where
Me too.
all of this came from.
Because Freud was a known pedophile, for God's sake.
Exactly. And I've gotten myself into, I've lost a lot of followers saying certain things because, when you hear people talking about Organite specifically, the object, it's not the same as Wilhelm Reich. And if they say Wilhelm Reich invented Organite, that's not true. Wilhelm Reich created devices that could harness Orgone energy. One of them was the Orgone accumulator box that kind of looked like it was about the size of a small refrigerator. It was layered with different material, physical matter we call it organic and inorganic. And these elements will behave with energy in a certain way where they're either repelling energy or attracting it. So when you layer a bunch of different materials in a manner that will start to pull what they call life energy, pulling it inward, but then pushing it away. Now it's sort of condensing against the rest that's being pulled in. Now you've got something pulling more in and more, and it's just going like this back and forth motion to the center of the box. That's why they called it an accumulator. It was accumulating Orgone energy. So you could sit inside the box and then reap the benefits of that orgone being harnessed into the body. So with Wilhelm Reich and his studies, I'll just say, it's believed he cured. I say that because I'm using the C word, cured. It is believed that he cured cancer and infertility by harnessing this energy. And by going back and saying, well, now we're talking about sexual energy, if that's correct, the energy that encompasses sexual energy, I'm thinking, well, that would be the energy you need to procreate, or a lack of that energy or messing up that energy would be intentionally killing, because cancer is essentially the frequency of death. I also know as time has changed, people are talking a lot now about cancer and parasitics or parasites.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to me because Wilhelm Reich's entire basis is that there's something parasitic that is essentially feeding on the human race, feeding on nature, and that it has to take something from us. It has to take, like we're
life off of us.
Exactly. So, but it can't just live off of life energy because it's the inversion of life. So now if that's true, then I'm thinking, well, isn't it interesting how much emphasis goes into trying to convert our energy from something positive into negative, meaning negative emotion, not like a negative charge. But it's like using modern day, using the news, for example, create a tragedy, cause a bunch of grief, cause a bunch of suffering. You've taken life energy and converted it into something you can now use for something else. Loosh. And it's a sense, I know I'm in comfortable turf having that part of the conversation. Some people not so much, because the idea that we could be fed on, or that something is doing something that we did not agree to, or we're trying to figure out if maybe we did or we got tricked. I know people talk about the soul trick or the trap. I try to lean more towards the trick, because a trap would imply you can't get out. And I don't believe that.
I'll tell you that usually if you go into mythology and archetypes, it's almost always a trick, to your point, because the soul always has to consent. Or if the soul either has to invite in the good or invite in the bad, there has to be consent. It's like the whole shot thing with the COVID fiasco. People had to consent to it. You couldn't, and that's part of this game. And there's a term for that too. You've probably heard it, that the spiritual warfare that's going on. It's like the dark forces know that they don't have the ultimate power. We ultimately do. We have our own agency, and we have to give that over. Or we invite in the good. Like, even if you believe in, Jesus and Catholicism, you invite in the Christ consciousness. It has to come from us either way in allowing it. So to your point, I'll just agree. I would agree with Trick rather than Trick.
And I mean, I try to use, like, when I see chemtrails in the sky, for example, I call them the parasites, because I do believe there is something really deep going on etherically that goes beyond, because this is all about messing up the energy field down here on the ground to make something in the sky that doesn't seem to operate the same way. And it's like, well, why? Because there's layers of things we're not seeing. And so
the frequency fence.
So the idea, at least with Wilhelm Reich and the Orgone, is this idea that there is this energy that is in motion that keeps everything in alignment. And that is the energy that I think it has been compromised. It's been bastardized. It's been, it's like I said, in order to tell a lie, if you tell a lie, you have to keep covering it up. So in this case of covering it up, well, what do you have to do? You have to keep creating a new biological thing for this, and another, Bill Gates project for that, or another Elon Musk satellite for that. And it just never ends, because it's kind of like, if you ever open, I'm not judging anyone with an iPhone. I have an iPhone. I have a very old iPhone, and I tried it. When it's gone, I don't know what I'm going to do, like a lot of people, but it's the idea of how much we're obligated to update and continually keep updating. A lot of people talk about this thing called planned obsolescence.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
It is a thing. On the money side, I can see it. But what I think is happening is life finds a way. I have a video about that we'll talk about too. Using that quote from Jurassic Park. But the energy of life figures out a way to fix something, to do something, to keep moving. So they have to create something else. It's that you have to keep telling another lie. One of those lies is the updates on your phone. It's why you have to update to the next iOS every 5 seconds, because the frequency in this place keeps changing, and you can't put the iron hammer down without changing with it. It's like, we've got to work out the bugs. Give us more data. Let us figure out what we can whiz through our machines. Let us create CERN. Let us create Project Stargate. Let us create another data center and tap it into the water supply. And it's all about upgrading, because on the side of what we would call good, there is also an upgrade. And it's when I say frequency war, I think there's a frequency war happening. That's the frequency war. They need more fun. It's like, we're going to need a bigger boat. And we're like, yeah, we're going to need a bigger boat too. Like, keep going, because it's a battle. And so these tools come into that, where it's like, okay, let's, like Wilhelm Reich, let's transmute, let's take stuff in, let's put stuff back in alignment. And this is just my own pathway. People call it different things. They might just call it life energy. I've joked with people in the movie Star Wars, it's called the Force. Yeah. That's literally the Force.
Life force.
So and so it doesn't really matter what you call it. And in a lot of ways, I don't want to downplay it by saying, it's like religion. But when you look at modern day religion, is everybody really so different? It's like in the things, it's like we have different characters that we assign things. We have different ideas of what things may look like. But we're all kind of realizing there's something bigger going on. And some of us can see it, some of us can't. Some of us are on a spectrum where we're in touch with certain things. I mean, put yourself around a lot of this weird shit. And after a while, you're you start tapping into it. So,
well, like in your story, you weren't looking for it, which to me just gives you authenticity and credibility. Like, you were actually trying to prove it didn't exist. And it was it just happened despite your expectations. So to me, that's, there you go.
I have a friend who, he lives in Milwaukee, and he was friends at the time. This is about, I think maybe 15 or more years, probably about 15 years ago. He was friends with George Ritchell, who is at Organize Africa. He's someone who he's been a huge influence to me. He's been doing this George in Africa. He's been gifting around the entire continent, with exception to certain war zones, of course, but like doing everything he can because Africa is just completely torn apart by geoengineering. So he's been doing it for like 2 decades now. And they had come to Chicago years ago, probably right as I was pulling up to the curb, and or shortly after. And we've discussed that maybe they were busting towers and doing things around what we call the frequency fence, sort of lifting the veil, opening up the energy. And it's like, I think a lot of that has helped to make me see certain things. It's sort of like you're opening the door, because there's a lot of mind fog and a lot of weird. I mean, I'll just be frank, there is demonic shit coming off of a cell tower. It's not just microwaves. The microwaves are the pathway because it's an anti-life frequency. But think about what's going along that pathway, or in your Wi-Fi router that's called a gateway. They call it a gateway for a reason. There's a reason they call the Aura ring the Aura ring. The Amazon Echo is called Echo for a reason. So it's like they know what they're doing, and they're tapping into the ether, or they're tapping in on
Sirius.
That
always bothered me. They called it Sirius.
Yeah. It really sucks when they name it after.
Yeah, like something that's celestial body. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You can't do that. They invert it. Like, to your point. I love that you're talking about this. This is why I wanted you on the show, because you're just a tremendous resource of information, and you're just so well articulated and down to earth about it, because I share with you, I mean, people tend to be a little too woo, but on the woo thing, I do want to add my own little woo, is that I love what you said about trees and us. And so 2 points to circle back on that is that's why I do what I do and have for many decades, is that, the whole eat right, exercise, get natural light, sleep, drink water, it's all to keep your antenna tuned. You have to go through, we as people have to go through the physical body to access the spiritual realms, the higher chakras. You got to get the physical right. Otherwise, you can't download. You're not going to resonate with the frequencies. That's why you do all the things, at least for me, that is. I mean, I will admit, maybe in my 20s, I was more vain and wanted to look cute with a nice butt. But, it's changed as I've gotten older. I like that too. But now I'm older and wiser, and I get, there's much more to this game than that. So I love that you said it's about tuning our antenna and how trees are antennas. But my own personal woo, I will add, I don't know how you feel about this, but let me tell you, I'm a firm believer that trees have spirits, because the property that I live on, I talk to my plants, I talk to my trees. They feel vibration. You said something about the intention, the power of your intention when you go in your garage and you create your amazing products. And I feel that intention is one of the most powerful forces out there, because even if you screw up and you're not doing it technically right, or if you're trying to help an animal or person, people can feel your intention, and it's whether it's good or bad. But I can feel the trees. I swear I can feel the trees, and I can feel, I don't know, I talk to my butterflies, and I swear they come out when I'm there. They weren't there, and then I go outside, they're there. It's like, and there's many books on this, and everyone has a saying, but I have a brook in the back of my house, and there's water spirits, and I'd love for you to, when you're ready, talk to us about water, because water is critical, and it has spirits. There's water spirits. So these are all energetic forces of Mother Earth, the planet, that we are living in, not on, but we're living in it. Like, we're part of it. So do you want to take that?
Yeah. Funny enough, just as I was this morning getting ready for our talk, I came across his reading. I was talking about the spirits or the energies that we see like here in the physical realm. And when I heard this, I was just kind of like, that's a good way to look at it. But it's the idea that here in the physical, what we sense is energies, but it's when you can go deeper, it's entity, it's spirits.
Right.
And that's something that when you look at every conspiracy here and every agenda and everything they're trying to do, it's like everything is made to dumb us down, not just with the chemicals and poison, but in the mindset that all there is this physical box that we're just in, and you just go through the motions and you do whatever and you move on. And that's where, one of the most frustrating things for me in my work when it comes specifically to chemtrails is, I notice patterns that they follow. I notice the etheric side. I notice the astrological events. I notice when they follow holidays, when they follow lunar cycles. And I'm like, as specific as poison can be out of the back of a plane, I'm like, boy, some of these shapes that they make and these things that they do, this is some really selective poison. And I have a video of a giant donut in the sky. I opened my front door. This is about 3 or 4 years ago now. And I did a funny voiceover. It's on my website. I'm trying to be humorous. I see these circular patterns, and I think that is the most specific, that's the most specific case of Morgellons disease that I've ever seen. Like, it must not work if it's not in a circle. But in my mind, I'm like, why is this in a certain, why is it always in the sunset? Why is it in these certain patterns? Why does it follow all these different things and the equinox and the solstice? And
wow.
And there's
powerful transition times.
I mean, there's a lot of times I think the earth is essentially just barfing its brains out all over. I mean, energy just...
That's kind of where I was saying in the beginning. Yeah.
So it just...
trying to make sense of it all.
So sometimes when you see things, like I'm kind of over here in my corner and I tell people, do I think they're spraying something? Yes. Do I know it's bigger than that? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think everything that's coming out of the back of a plane is what we actually think it is? No. I think it's...
Agreed.
Endless. It is, and actually, someone gave me one of the best pieces of advice I ever got early when I started doing this. Someone doing what I do said, doing kind of what I do, but just said, Mitch, we don't even know what a chemtrail really is, and maybe we're not supposed to know. Maybe we won't ever find out, and if we don't, we have to be okay with that. And it was really kind of hard to digest at the time because I'm just like, no, it has to be whatever, it has to be what it is. But then I'm thinking, when I have a cloud buster in my backyard and I start aiming it at different cloud formations, or I start messing around with, everyone's seen these on my website and on my little posts and things, but it's like, I'll put, my harmonizers they're hooked up to frequency generators.
That's a harmonizer? Wow.
This is a harmonizer I got. A friend in Australia.
Is that copper?
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so Awakening Aphrodite podcast on YouTube, everybody, if you want to check this out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
But basically just like using different frequencies and channeling things and different kind of channel, I should say, and channeling the energy of basically channels, physical channels, like numbered channels. So like there's a frequency for smoke. There's a frequency for all these different things to clear up. Like when they start burning the forest, it's like there are things we can use and tools we can use that are essentially taking frequency, harnessing it as a directive antenna. This is a power wand, by the way, but this is like super Orgonite, but these things do something to those formations in the sky that begin operating in a way that I'm like, I don't think that's a bunch of spray. I'm like, there's what kind, because I also think about like, I've got aluminum cans around my house and I've got things I'm sure in my body that I haven't detoxed yet. And I always think, okay, these are ripping apart formations in the sky. Should they essentially, if you throw Orgonite at the wrong toxic person, they should shred apart like instantaneously if it starts ripping apart metal. Well, be careful. I
can use that a few times.
I agree. But so what I'm saying is there's more to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so when I'm out here with my toys and looking at it from a frequency side, that ether side, and that everything is bigger and spiritual, like the trees, again, they're always trying to bring us back down. Even, and this is, hopefully I don't want to offend anybody, because I was like, I've got to tell her how I feel about this.
Yes, you do.
All of the stuff in the news in the last 6 months about legislation to stop chemtrails, it's a sore subject for me. I can't stress enough that it's like the bane of my existence, because I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I don't think it's actually possible, because in my experience, ripping apart chemtrails in real time, from coincidentally walking around giant towers or walking around a nuclear power plant with a bunch of this stuff, there's a bigger picture. And it tells me that, there's not a physical person on this rock is not going to, they don't know. They don't even know. But something wants us fixed.
Who's they? Who doesn't know?
Well, so like the people who say, we're gonna get rid of the chemtrails.
Oh, like the legislation. Okay.
The legislation.
Yeah.
So because notice, for years and years, for forever, it's been called a conspiracy theory. If you believed in chemtrails, you were a kook. And that was pretty much the end of it. But we went all the way to the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah, and now it's a given. Yeah.
If you go on anything now, mainstream science will tell you it's aluminum, barium, strontium.
Yep.
It's cloud seeding, and it's silver iodide. Most people, this may come as a shock, but like it's flimsy evidence at best, but there is really no evidence that proves silver iodide induces rain, because there hasn't been enough testing. And it's like they do it when it's raining. So it's like it's one of those things that got talked about, and it got talked about and repeated and repeated. And so now when you ask people,
it became a belief. Yeah.
It became a belief. So people are just
like, but they are blocking the sun successfully.
They are blocking.
And preventing rain and steering hurricanes. So they are controlling the weather.
They are controlling the weather. But I think it's on an etheric level, and it's through the frequency more so, that I actually do believe we'll see chemtrails go. We already kind of have. Chemtrails have gone down.
Yes.
As 5G expanded, and as Starlink expanded, and as all these things, because the fence is still there. The structure of the fence is still there.
I think they switched gears because it got so much, in my theory, it was getting so much public awareness, and the fact it even has legislation. The fact, although I agree it's going to be ineffectual, but the fact that it's becoming more mainstream and less of a conspiracy, because, all of these conspiracy theories miraculously seem to come true eventually. And this is just another one of them. But they're just getting smarter, and they're diverting it another way. I was reading one source saying, well, they're just spraying at night now at like 2 a.m. when we're asleep, so people can't see them. So they stop complaining about it. But to your point, it's like a chess match, right? Like, and it's constantly evolving, of one side reacting after the other and trying to.
Yeah. I would ask people, because I know it's a very loaded thing. The day I actually stopped believing that it was what they were telling me it was. I thought the information that was being given to me through, like, for example, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, we forget that government entity is the same entity that controls the CDC and told us about COVID, or the one that tells us, the FBIs and the CIAs that tell us about whatever the latest headline is, or the latest, pew pew event that happens, or, the NOAA and the NEXRAD and the Weather Central that tells us about, Hurricane Milton and all of that. And it's like, at what point do we rely on, we don't trust NASA, for example. What is it? Never a straight answer. We don't trust them for all kinds of things. We don't trust the government about what happened in 2001. We don't trust them about all the things that we're comfortable at this point knowing aren't the way that they say they are.
9/11.
So I kind of look at the Patent and Trademark Office as the same, because I think, wow, you went from calling me a conspiracy theorist for the last decade to now just forking over everything. And like, you can't give away this information fast enough. And I'm like, to me, that's interesting, because we see fewer trails, and yet the weather it's chaotic.
Yes,
it's really chaotic.
That's a good point.
So I have a video on my website that I would encourage people to at least just to see where I'm coming from, because I wanted to. It's called "The Sky Is Not What We Think."
Okay, because I know you had videos. I'll look for that.
Yeah, it was called "The Sky Is Not What," or "The Sky Is Not What It Appears." Oh shoot,
something of that nature. Okay, that's right. Something like that. Okay.
But it was specifically saying it's 2 hours of me saying, here's why I can't subscribe to the aluminum, barium, strontium, and silver iodide, and asking people to try and look at the resonance side and actually how they may be using the moisture, all the water in our reality. They're using our own water against us. They're using on an etheric level because they're changing all the antenna. They're building AI data centers, which are just cell towers on steroids that are being tapped into the water supply. They tell us it's to cool them. Everything is about changing the energy signature of essentially of the earth, and we've heard it all different ways through things like, the Tartaria and the New World and all the old structures, the cathedrals, the bells, the
windmills.
So I think,
weather vanes, they're all good.
In the same way of the architecture that's been changed, I think, all it takes is for one person to fly over the land and to look at the circuit board that the earth has become. And you can see why structures are called what they are, or why the Georgia Guidestones are connected on the same ley line as, the top 20 tragedies in world history, from 9/11 to Princess Diana to JFK to the Gulf oil spill. So it's what's the channels? Again, the numbers. What is it that the energy that's been turned into or bastardized or manipulated? And I think that happens up in the sky. So I think it's bigger and probably a little scarier, what looks like a physical plane. And I always try to remind people too, we've all been talking about Project Bluebeam for years. People say Project Bluebeam's coming, it'll be here, whatever. I'm like, we're beyond that. They've already been using it. It's in full motion. They don't want us to know when they flip the switch. That would be silly. So
you mean like the Truman
I think
Show
a lot
thing? When you mean Project Bluebeam, the Truman Show type thing?
So Project Bluebeam, meaning people talk about what they're going to fake, an alien invasion or a coming of Jesus or some kind of a Messiah. The laser light show in the sky.
Yes.
And I get the idea behind it, but I usually hear it from the same people who say that we're, they're 200 years ahead of us with technology. And my rebuttal to that is actually, yes. And don't you think they would be using it long before they would tell us that they were going to start? We're waiting for something that I think we're already in. And so there's more explanations for what's going on in the sky than simply what they've so graciously told us. And when they tell us stuff, I'm over here saying, what do you want? What is it you don't want me looking at?
Well, it's usually smoke and mirrors. Usually it's here, you look over here, we're going to give you this, but this is happening over there, that we're diverting your attention to this while we're over there doing that. And that's the real thing over there that you're not looking at because we distract you with this. So I totally agree with you with that. I'm always very suspicious of all the information that's even allowed out there. And even one of my questions for you is I can't believe you're out there as much as you are, that you're not highly censored, that you're not banned, and you're still on YouTube, and I know you get the black helicopter thing going over your house, but I just am amazed that they're allowing you to bust up all this stuff, frankly. Thank God you are, but I'm amazed you. Excuse me, this is not a coincidence that he's cutting out right now while he's going to share this. I'm sorry, but this is completely not a coincidence. Go ahead.
I think we're at a point where if somebody wants to censor, or if somebody wants me to look at something, they're actually going to start censoring people because it becomes very obvious. And I think there are some things that it's easier to shut someone up by speaking louder than them as opposed to taking away their voice.
Oh.
So for me, this is where I go back to like that video about why I don't think chemtrails are what a lot of us think they are. You don't shut me up by deleting my account because I'm just going to get more followers by noon tomorrow. People are going to say, oh, he must be telling the truth. Sorry. Are you still there?
You're back. It's just amazing. You're cutting out. He said, you're not going to shut you up because you'll just keep talking.
I'll have more followers by lunch tomorrow.
Okay.
And they will essentially, because if they shut you up, people look and they're like, they must be telling the truth.
Right. Like, why are they shutting him up? Yes.
Exactly. So instead, I think that the tactic for something like me, and this is not specific to me, but I am part of the group it's specific to. This is where the legislation crap comes in, because it's like, we're going to just tell everybody everything about chemtrails. We're going to keep it completely fixated on physical matter, physical planes, physical bad guys, physical, Bill Gates covering the sun. This goes into the Wilhelm Reich stuff, but there is white stuff in the sky we call deadly orgone radiation. It's DOR, it's electrosmog. It appears out of nowhere. It doesn't need chemtrails to manifest.
Oh, wow.
And if you start paying attention to the white stuff covering the sun, most of the time, there's no chemtrails around to do it. It's because of the fence. And I have videos like, there's popping holes through it, or I have videos in real time showing, which I sped up, showing how it just manifests out of nothing. And as the sun moves across the sky during the day, all of the white crap just coincidentally, it just migrates to the sun. It's like they're trying to cover the sun as much as possible, as much of the day as possible. And so little by little, you've reduced the amount of rays that are coming through, and you're sort of doing like a slow kill. But there are days if you look at the sky and it's not even, it's blue and it's clear. I see it a lot. And people are like, oh, it's sunny out, it's clear. And I look at it and I'm like, what are you smoking? It's such a faded blue because there is a shield over as far as the eye can see. There's no clouds, but it's because there's just a fine layer. And if you look and if you fix your eye on it for long enough, kind of let your eyes adjust to it, you'll slowly start to see the flicker rate and you'll see the ripples in it all the time. I think it's part of the reason why, if the sun is changing, because we know it's gotten white, I think that might be the case. It's getting white, but I think part of it is because there is a filter that is just the whole fence that is changing. It's like, it's like putting a fluorescent bulb. Sometimes the sun looks like ugly office lighting, and it's like it almost gives you there are some days I get a headache because of that until the sun goes down, because it just doesn't feel, it's like they've filtered out something. And if it's little by little and extremely subtle, because what people are looking for, they're looking for lines coming out of a plane. They're looking for Bill Gates to spray sulfuric acid or whatever.
The balloons.
That's
not the balloons.
But I'm saying it's like,
this is much more insidious.
The satellite.
Yeah, it's they're smarter than that. They're not going to be that obvious.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're not going to be that obvious. And so I agree. That's where
I agree.
Where my opinion on the spray, I'm like, I don't know that they need the spray. And they may also just send planes out to spray water vapor just to mess with people. And while they're doing other things and downloading illnesses into
totally be again back to our distraction, right? It's like, okay, look over here and make it really obvious. Because I always, like I said, it's like I'm always suspicious of everything they allow as a narrative. I just am, because I know it's always like, if they say it's the bullet you don't see that gets you, right? It's like, okay, what are they really doing? What are we not noticing?
My advice to anyone who feels triggered or sensitive or feels like maybe I've offended them by my belief or my viewpoints of the chemtrail narrative, I would say to just try and at least remember that the burden of proof has really been, we live in an inverted world that had like the burden of proof is always on the wrong foot. We were actually asked to prove that the clot shot was dangerous when they should have had to prove that it was safe. So when people will come at me and they'll say, well, no, this is what chemtrails are. And like, well, you need to prove they're not aluminum, barium, and strontium. And I'm here to say they've actually never officially been proven except taking the word of those who have the highest levels of access to who are doing it to us, essentially. It's the boogeyman that's doing it to us is telling us what they're doing. I don't think answers like that come so simple in the quest for truth, that there's something that doesn't add up. But the burden of proof, it's like, I kind of snap back and say, well, you've never proven your point either. And it's like, well, where did you hear it? And then you start playing the telephone game and you realize it comes back full circle. This is where like trust the plan stuff comes from. And it's like, well, who started all of that? And it's like, well, I heard it from them. Well, I heard it from, and then you just realize like, oh, the only source of information on this is just simply everybody repeating it to everybody that they associate with. That's not a form of evidence. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm right about what I think they are. It means we haven't figured it out. That friend or acquaintance who told me, we may never know.
I'll also add, it's in human nature to be lazy like that and just kind of adapt the belief that you've been told from somebody else. It's like you borrow their belief as truth without really using your critical thinking skills and like, what do I think about this?
And it's not always it's comfort. It's comforting because it can be very traumatic.
Yep.
But sure. Like I said, I mean, if I were a betting man, and sometimes I am, I guess, but my bet is that we will see less and less and less. We'll see fewer cocaine lines in the sky.
We have already.
But we will see an increase in weather destruction.
Yeah.
Because
it's been variable too.
Because it's the frequency fence.
Yeah.
And there's, this is a side tangent about trees, but the thing with the trees, I've gone to a point with the things like this, the power wand. I've talked a little bit about ether damming in the past, which is pushing a barrier in the ether to build up energy and essentially build rain clouds. Wow. It has got me to reevaluate meteorology, that I don't actually believe rainstorms have much to do with evaporation and condensation as much as like, it's not that the moisture goes into the air, condenses, becomes a cloud, and then blows up. It's that water is it's a conduit. It's highly conductive, and the energies are using it like an antenna to create an energy field. And when the conditions in that energy field are right, what's going to happen is it's what looks like a rain cloud to us is going to manifest. And that rain cloud is going to bring rain through the ether from somewhere else, because there's only a finite amount of water somewhere in this realm, and it's relocating. And I think the trees help that process by saying, hey, or all vegetation I think helps, but it's like bringing the water in, creating the energy field, because you can turn it on and shut it off. So I think in the case when we see weather warfare, if you're messing with the ether, you can actually turn off the water. Or let's say you want to take water from Canada. Let's say I'll use something current. You want to take it from Canada so you can set fire. How do you prevent it from raining? Because you can't really create energy or destroy energy. We're constantly transmuting it. It's a war. It's a frequency battle. Well, I'm going to dump a ton of water in the form of hurricanes where it doesn't need to go, or I'm going to do the deluge of last month or the month before in Texas. I think it was June. Was it June of this summer?
The flood.
It's or places in Dubai. And then I'm going to tell everybody that we're doing cloud seeding. So they just believe we're scattering whatever and making it rain. And I'm like, no, you're taking rain from other parts of the earth and relocating it where it doesn't need to go. Because I don't think my personal belief is, I don't think they can make it rain. I think they can move it. They can turn it off, but they have to put it somewhere because it's energy. You can't just kill energy and turn it off.
That's
you
a good
have
point.
to change.
They redirect it.
They redirect it. So these are the ideas that have gone through my head now for a decade, that
really
it's like, it's just the movement of energy, that flow of orgone or the flow of the chi or whatever, everything that keeps everything in alignment. When it gets messed up, it still has to go. It has to be diffused somewhere. And then it comes out in the form of weather warfare, havoc. It comes out in the form of havoc. So
I think that's brilliant. Yes, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Makes total sense.
I know that's a loaded time.
No,
I know it's like
so important. And I'm so glad you said that and we're sharing this. I'm going to just think on that, but I'm right with you. It makes a lot of sense. I would like to kind of change directions because you've heard of biogeometry, I'm sure. Okay, because a lot of what you're talking is resonating with me to be the BG3 centering energy of biogeometry. It's, the life force energy, and it's all about, and I love because you're doing this too. It's like your mission and your products are about not so much fighting the bad, I'm quoting in air, but creating the environment for the good, right? And I love that idea. That's much more powerful and beautiful. And that's kind of what biogeometry is too. So a lot of your work has resonated with me so strongly because of my biogeometry training. I am a practitioner. And I do want to talk to you about these amazing products you've made, because I have some questions, particularly like this. Sorry for those listening, guys, but again, Awakening Aphrodite podcast on YouTube. Mitch, this is the earth pipe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So this is copper, right?
Yep.
And it's got crystal inside it.
It does. It's got like what look like these little pointed crystals wrapped in copper.
Gorgeous.
Little smaller, but yeah.
So just quickly for the audience, crystals are known. We'll put them in the show notes for you, but I've done some great shows on crystals, like probably 3 or 4 shows, because crystals are conductors, they're transmitters, they're very, very powerful ancient beings. And copper, we know, it's our girl Aphrodite. It's the element of Venus, and it's very, very powerful. So used in electroculture. My question for you with this earth pipe, okay, and I'm going to want you to explain to people, I'm going to have you explain it because you will better than I, its purpose. But my question, I'm worried about the biogeometry, because from what I understand, this goes into the earth, fully buried into the earth, to help correct the magnetic fields. Again, you're going to have to correct me. But my question would be, and I've heard you say you want to ideally put it near a water source because water is a conductor, but I'm worried about hitting Kari lines, Hartman lines, the grid, because in my biogeometry training, I know a lot of our training is to correct the earth lines that people are living on that are wreaking havoc for their health. And once we correct the lines, all of a sudden, their sleep apnea goes away. They don't have, they've been cured of autism, all kinds of crazy stuff. So my question is, please explain what this tool is, its purpose, and the placement of it, because I'm very afraid I haven't used it yet, even though you sent it to me weeks ago, because I'm afraid I might hit a Kari line or something and make a big problem.
So, yes, obviously you want to be careful when you are planting those, but the purpose... and I will disclaimer too, I think earth pipes, to me, I think they're the best out of all Organite. The reason behind that is because if you look at it like an acupuncture needle for the earth, so if you go back to the work of people like Dawn and Carol Croft, who are, I just refer to them as the pioneers of the Orgone gifting movement.
I got their zapper. Right here, there's that.
Me too.
I got it right on me.
And you got the classic one too, because those since they are obviously no longer with us, you can buy zappers, but yours probably has the orgone in it too.
Yeah.
So and that was one of the things I like about mine. But they would talk about geopathic stress.
Yes.
The ley lines, the vortexes, all the different parts of the Earth's energy grid or the magnetic grid. this goes into the architecture that's sort of been compromised over the years, destroyed, changed, or also why they're building some pretty unfortunate thing. Why do they dam up water on something like the Colorado River? And then the biggest eyesore in my life, I think, has got to be the Hoover Dam. The energy just gives me the heebie-jeebies. And it just coincidentally, I'm pretty sure it's providing electricity for at least part of Las Vegas and part of Los Angeles. Someone can correct me and tell me how wrong I am. But when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. So you've got the city of sin and the city of angels. That sounds like a battery of yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy lines, if you look at cell towers, they are very strategically placed to where they connect to water. Yeah. They don't just put them on water towers. They just tap them into the water supply or into the creeks and the rivers. And they're very close to water sources. And my personal opinion or my personal viewpoint about that is it's because water is an antenna. Yeah. And this goes into the, it's more than an antenna when you look at it from the Masaru Emoto perspective, and the structure of water and the consciousness and the secrets it's probably holding about this reality and why it's damaged. It's before it gets to us, through the piping system and what they do to it. So sort of reverse engineering the idea of, okay, where do I want to put this and why? The earth pipe, I look at it as an acupuncture needle to relieve that stress and to basically utilize the earth's own magnetic fields as a way to magnify it, because all of the towers have been purposefully tapped into that as well. It's like they change the directional flow of things. And I think this is my own opinion, and someone will fight me on it, I'm sure. But the trees, when we see trees dying next to a cell tower, it may be because the cell tower is literally microwaving that wood. I totally understand how that's possible. But as far as the things that are further away, and when sections of forest are dying, I think it may have more to do with a flow of energy that's gone through the root system as opposed to what's happened up above.
It's always about soil. I agree.
And, we joke about when everyone in their phones, people would say, oh, Generation Z needs to stop looking down at their phone and look up. And meanwhile, I'm over here saying sometimes, that's true, but sometimes we need to actually look back down and remember what we're walking on. Because if you look at if this is the sky and this is the ground, it's like you put a current or a frequency through the earth that sort of is a bubble with the frequency fence above, and you complete that whole circuit. And then inside of that circuit, you can, play with the elements. That's a nice way of saying it. So I think the earth pipes, they don't have to go around water. No. I just definitely recommend that if you have the ability to plant an earth pipe on your property, sometimes now I kind of recommend 2, because we all are subjected to neighbors who love their tech toys, or I have a kit that I call the neighborhood block party, specifically because some people can't choose who they live by, and so it gives you enough to, I call it the orgonuclear option, but it's like a way to really bust the bubble around you. And I think it has like 3 earth pipes in it. So that's a lot for one house.
Well, didn't you say 1 earth pipe per approximately 2 acres? But are you changing that, or like what? I would say I read that somewhere.
Like I would say in a city, it would be like a square block, which would be an acre, but that's only because you're going to find more EMF devices. The more EMF you have, the more Organite I think you should have, because it's sort of like, look at it as an energy filter that takes in that toroidal field. It takes it in, restructures it, and spits it out. So, and also you want to put these around in a way that, make your Organite ping each other, kind of like Bluetooth speakers, or it's like you're setting up your own Wi-Fi booster network. The same way.
When you say like literally put it right in front of the computer, like just proximity?
There's no, as long as you're inside the house, I don't think there's anything wrong. There's no wrong place to put it.
Like I have one on my electrical panel. Like, is the literal location important? Like, should it be under it, side? How close?
If the panel's outside, I'd put
in the basement, like the electrical panel.
Then yeah, just put it around the panel. I tell people basically around the smart meter or around the electric circuit box.
Yeah, like in the basement. Yeah. Like so proximity is not important in exact location. It could be in the top, the middle, the bottom, on a table nearby.
When it's in the house, I don't think proximity is important because your house is only going to be so big.
Okay.
It's the range on Organite. Now, this is a general.
Yeah, this is a question. The range.
I always say I word this carefully, but the general consensus in the Orgone community is that Organite has a range of 1/4 mile.
Oh,
what I
little
believe,
hockey puck?
Well, but the second half of the answer is that I think it will have a positive effect on a EMF device within 1/4 mile. That doesn't mean 1/4 mile is adequate. Because I think the further you get away from the device, like the tower or the meter, if you're going to put it 1/4 mile away from a tower, then I think you need to do it on multiple sides of that tower. Because the further you get away from the EMF source, the more of this you're going to need. You try to get as close as you can.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding. My understanding was you put these little tower busters that look like hockey pucks, which are Organite. You put them, to your point, the more EMF you have, the more of these little pucks you need. So I was thinking like around all electronics. No, like I need like 20 of them or something.
Yeah, but I guess from where I'm sitting in the living room, it's like if the Wi-Fi router's on the other side of the house, I don't know that it makes much of a difference whether it's literally next to. You probably should, because why not? If you're going to be very specific about where to put it, I tell people to put it near the area where they sleep.
Definitely. So a nightstand. Yeah.
Nightstand, dresser, anything like that. Some people put it under the bed. Because a lot of people, one of the biggest coinkydinks is generally sleep cycles, or people will talk about a sense of relaxation, something that is mitigating the poking sensation that comes from being zapped by the EMF in the middle of the night.
Yes.
So the buzz.
Yeah.
So people will talk about, and there was a woman in Austin recently. She was once in a while, I don't know, I just decided to use her as kind of a guinea pig. So she kind of agreed, so she won't be offended. But she was overly, very, very sensitive. And I thought, okay, let's nuke this thing because Austin is highly EMF. So we got, put a bunch of this stuff around. And one of the first reactions she had was finally being able to sleep in her bedroom. And she had a smart meter on the other side of the wall. And she went through all of her stories, but she talked about, and she's a squirrel whisperer, basically. She sent me a book on it, and because why I took an interest in her, because I think that's adorable. But she, first reactions are like people talk about stress levels, and they talk about the sleep, and animals and reactions, things, pollinators, things that rely on frequency. Mm-hmm. And so, and I do want to be very clear. I probably should have said this beforehand. I say it all over my website and then some, but it's not medical advice. Yep. This is something that, I wanted to prove my case. And I have since it's like the never ending book of coinkydinks that just keeps growing. And so that's why when you dive into the stuff about the Organite, you're going to hear people talk about dreaming, like the Peter Pan dreams of our childhood, or you're going to hear people talk about the plant growth, because this overlaps heavily with electroculture. You are essentially enhancing the magnetic fields. Yeah.
Yep.
You're essentially making a healthier environment for your plant to thrive. You're fixing a frequency that's inhibited its growth. So you get, people talk a lot about faster sprouting, faster growth, more fruit. People I know with Chem busters, or what we call sometimes cloud busters, they have them in their orange orchard, and have talked about how, the oranges it sort of became an orange candy shop growing. This was down in Tucson, actually, that, I know folks with an apple orchard that had similar experiences where the trees that were closest to the cloud buster seemed to be producing more fruit. And of course, it's all, when you do this, it's gonna, a lot of it's gonna be anecdotal. It's gonna be your own experiments. It's gonna be, again, you have to be willing to play the game of F around and find out. Otherwise, and that's what really, unfortunately, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because
that's life, though.
It's, people want a machine to tell them what to think, or what, just measure this thing for me, which ironically we do. I mean, I have a thing like what Wilhelm Reich had for measuring orgone, but it's like, all I can do is say, if I put my devices near it, the needles just go on the fritz. Well, that doesn't tell me anything other than there's a there. But I have to go out. I have to go venture into the forest. I have to go play James Bond in the middle of the night. I have to go lose a bunch of things in a boating accident. I always joke about that on shows where, when people say, so you're just going and doing grid work. It's like, yeah, that's the grid work. Creating an Orgone energy bubble around the frequency fence, and then paying attention to the observations that can be made after. So
it's so important.
But sorry, regarding yeah, so I just want to say, though, just because I totally got on the tangent, I'm sorry about that. Just the earth pipe. I do think, you want to obviously be careful. I think these are 11 inches and they're not as deep as what would be, if you've ever seen the signs, call before you dig, if you start digging around your house and whatnot. You want to be mindful of those things, but in most cases, everything is deeper than that level. And when I say bury them around water, I mostly mean like, for people, a lot of people on farms have contacted me over the years. They may have a pond or a lake or something where, and they've got all this different land. So it's like, when I say bury it near the water, it's like, it could still be like 100 feet away,
Oh, wow.
Places.
So let me ask you this. I have a brook in the back of my house. I don't know, maybe it's 50 yards from the house. And then on the left of the house, I have a well. So I was going to get a second earth pipe to put one at the well and one at the brook, but maybe they're close enough that one in between would suffice. What do you think?
I mean, personal opinion, I would put it between them. And then maybe on the opposite side of the house, kind of in another direction, as far as before where your property line ends, so that you kind of get something from both sides.
Oh, put it on the property line? Well, that could be far. I've got a couple acres here.
Well, no, I just mean to put it as not in the same place as the other one. So it's like,
but like on the other side, like balancing.
Yeah, because if you're putting it between, say, a creek and a well, and they're both on the same side of your house.
Yep.
Then I would put it there in between those two, and then I just go somewhere on the other side of the house and just maybe kind of just go out a little ways. That way you have a bigger grid, and then you fill in everything inside your house with all the other things that you have, the smaller devices, the pucks, or a pyramid, or whatever it is you're using.
And the pucks, just to clarify, is they were inside the house. Like, I just have them, of course, near my bed. Sorry, my dogs are getting anxious. They're playing with toys and being naughty because they're like, time for dinner. But just to kind of clarify for me and the audience and everybody, because this is important. You want to use products so they work, right? They're effective. I have them like in front of my computers. I have them, like I said, in my basement. I've got some of the Tower Busters, hockey pucks, on my circuit breakers. I've got one in my car. I don't know if that's a dumb idea.
I mean, in the car. No, it's a great idea, especially if you have, I'm not judging, but if you have an electric car, put one in your car.
No.
Anything anything that's antenna.
Yeah. Okay. Good to see. I love that.
I figured you wouldn't, but yeah. But I mean, people are constantly driving through EMF fields. I mean, you're always going to be out and about. You're never going to be able to control all the devices that you're around.
We're just
that's why I say, like,
by satellites all the time, and cameras and intersections. I mean, we're just getting zapped all the time. All right. Before we let you go, though, I think you need to clarify the difference between a cloudbuster and a chembuster.
For anyone interested, and excuse me.
I can't wait to get.
And I have this on my website because I did finally start. I was tired of I made them for myself. I finally started making them for other people because I was tired of referring. I was tired of referring other people. I'm like, I'm doing all this work and then telling people to go buy something somewhere else.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the long form explanation is on my website in the shop under the Cloudbuster, and you can see the whole shebang. But the main gist of it, a Chembuster was originally, I'm pretty sure it was created by Dawn Croft. I give Dawn and Carol credit for it by the model that was created. That and others will argue it was somebody else, but as far as the copper Chembuster, and it was based on the Cloudbuster from Wilhelm Reich. So on a Cloudbuster and if you can do an online search for a Cloudbuster or Wilhelm Reich Cloudbuster. Also, if you're interested in to get a better picture, I would recommend Contact with Space or Wilhelm Reich's book.
Oh, it's a
God
book.
and Devil.
Okay,
this one's
a book.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But this one's about a lot of cloud busting. And so the Cloudbuster looks like an enormous bazooka with all these different pipes. And the Cloudbuster would be grounded to an underground water source. And it would essentially de-ionize the sky and agitate the ether. And I don't know that Cloudbuster, it would help produce rain, or it would help migrate the clouds to build up that energy field. And this is where I've kind of had to migrate or adjust how I think about it, because it's like, it's creating the energy field that is necessary to bring in the rain through the ether. So a Cloudbuster, though, is Wilhelm Reich's device, and a Chembuster, which is made out of copper and made out of Organite, is the modern day version based on it.
Okay.
And the reason it's called a Chembuster is because that's what starts to fry the chemtrails in the sky. When, like, I have the videos on my website, squiggly lines that sort of sees. They look like DNA helixes and whatever. But it's because it's a busting chemtrails. It also will help
to see. Yeah.
Yeah, but it works like a Cloudbuster. It's essentially, one is based on the other. The functions are essentially the same. They're moving energy. Their energy device is moving energy. But the Chembuster, what we make today, we interchange the words because we got tired of, people just kept saying, oh, you have Cloudbusters, and I got so sick.
So do you refer to yours as a Chembuster then, it sounds like? Or no?
I refer to mine as a Cloudbuster, aka Chembuster, and then I always explain the whole thing because to be fair to Wilhelm Reich and his work and everything, it is different. So it's built differently.
It's just incredible that sorry, I got the sun coming right on my face. It's just as incredible, though, that you were able to create these devices that are actually doing this. I mean, you're like a shaman. Like, that's nuts. That's like, you're like a wizard. Like, it's crazy.
I appreciate that. I promise not.
I know you're not comfortable with that, but I'm sorry.
I'm just
crazy. It's like, how does this guy know how to do that? I have trouble making scrambled eggs.
It's like I said, it just became a thing to prove to myself, to prove my point, and to only ever be pleasantly surprised. So it's it is what it is now. But I would tell people, at the end of the day, all we're doing is putting things back in alignment, and everyone's capable of that. This is a modality. And when you said sacred geometry, or biogeometry, it's like, that is simple. That is a tool of another name. It is different tools with different rules, but essentially we're all doing the same thing. So
yes, the harmonizing, centering life force, promoting. I love it. It's just so grateful for you. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I made an oath to myself probably a couple of years ago when it was clear that there was much more going on than we thought with the pandemic, and it was far from over when all the restrictions were lifted, that we were just beginning the awakening, that I said, okay, enough of the doom and gloom. We got to now cultivate the good energy and bringing in the new the world we want to create. And I'm all about my show helping people have optimism and hope and boots on the ground, tangible actions that we can do to create that and solutions. So I'm not about bitching and moaning and complaining and contributing to that negative energy and the victimization and the feeling the poor me and the why bother and let's just wear cute shoes and post butt pictures on Facebook. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is like, let's take action, roll up our sleeves. Cause like my favorite saying is I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I mean, I feel that strongly that like you said at the beginning of the show, like I will die in this mountain because I'm not going to compromise my freedom. And I have to live my morals of protecting the innocent and life. And a lot of stuff that's going on is not right. And these creatures aren't having a say in what's happening to them. And unfortunately, humans are the same. Like, to our point, this has all been going on under the veil, but in darkness without our consent. So no more. So thank you. That's my big soap opera. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Okay. So as we wrap up the show and you're generous with your time, you're just such a generous person. I truly, I'm going to say a prayer for you, Mitch, that I just truly wish you so much blessings from my heart and my energy and any powers that be, that you be blessed exponentially for the good that you're doing for the rest of us. I truly hope that day will come soon so you can enjoy it, that you receive in kind what you've given to us. Truly.
Thank you.
Okay, so without getting too kumbaya, why don't you go ahead and share with us any final thoughts and how people can find you and your wonderful products?
Yeah. So I'll do the product thing first. I try, like I said to you earlier, like I try not to be a salesman, don't want to be that guy. But if you are interested, obviously people can go to my website. It's theorgonedonor.com. That's ORGONE DONOR.
Yep.
Orgone. Yep. And it's theorgonedonor.com. And I have my shop and everything on there. I try to have a sense of humor. I have a pretty fun, frequently asked questions page for people who want to be mildly amused. My approach is meant to make some really dark topics at least semi-funny, which I take pride in. And so I just recommend go through some of my videos there. And every show I've done is different from a different angle, but so everything's got a different feel, with the same themes, of course. But then also I would just recommend too, for people that want the bread and butter of, what is this guy about? On my website, I have a video called, The Wonderful World of CBs. I call it CBs because if I say Cloudbuster, it gets flagged. So it's titled The Wonderful World of CBs. And that gives you a look at here's what things you can do with a Chembuster or Cloudbuster. And then the other video that's one of my biggest, prideful moments is called The Frequency Fence. Yeah. Just in the title, it's The Frequency Fence in the Future. And that came from after the hurricanes in North Carolina and Florida last fall, I believe it was, last autumn. And so those are two pieces I highly recommend because it will really give you the crash course of what's this guy talking about. And, doing it in a way that's a little humorous and lighthearted and at the same time, hopefully fun. So
your website is a tremendous resource. So everybody, I definitely recommend you check it out. You're probably going to visit it multiple times. Again, a tremendous service to all of us because it's so informative. And would you please say it again? And it'll be in the show notes, everybody, as well.
Yeah. So it's the THE. So theorgonedonor.com.
Which is a brilliant name. We didn't even talk about that, which is such a great name. I love it. It's so cute. Okay, so they can find the products there.
Yep. And if they do find me on social media, I have my Instagram set on private for certain reasons that I've learned over the years. So all I ask is when people want to follow or, whatever, I can go click it. Just send me a little side message that says you're not AI, or say it. I tell people to say something funny because AI doesn't have a sense of humor. So that way I know right away it's not a bot because there's so many robots now. It's crazy. So
that's true. And yeah, someone like you has to be protective. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I can't even believe I'm going to make sure I'm following you. I'm Fit Amy TV on Instagram, which is a very old handle that unfortunately I didn't grab Amy Fournier back because I am not a techie or social media person. I resisted it so much. I wish I had been wiser at the time, but it's Fit Amy TV, but that's me. So you'll be seeing me with you. Okay. Well, everybody, wow. Okay. I'm ordering more. I'm all about it. I mean, everything I've known in my experience, this is so amazing. I'm so grateful. Please share this episode with friends and family, everybody, because again, this is a solution. Complaining about chemtrails and wanting, okay, let's fight back with weapons of power and love and harmony. I love it. Okay, Mitch, the Orgone Donor. Thank you so much for being on Awakening Aphrodite. I feel like I made a new friend. So, and everybody, thanks for still hanging in here at the end of the show with us and sharing the show, leaving a review, and checking out Mitch's store. Okay, we'll see you next time on Awakening Aphrodite.